Another evening perfect for another episode of Planet of the Apes. I'm reading the Planet of the Apes omnibus series. This is four omnibi, four set omnibus series. The first volume has Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which we talked about. And today we're going to talk about Escape from the Planet of the Apes. These are the original novelizations reissued. Let me go to the page for this one. It was, we talked about this one already. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Written by, novelization by Jerry Pournelle, based on the screenplay by Paul Dehn. Paul Dehn wrote all the original ape movie sequels, everything except for the Rod Serling helmed original Planet of the Apes. He dedicated Jerry Pournelle, very famous science fiction writer. I've never read anything by him previously, unless it was this book before. I don't think I read this one before, but I might have. You know, it's hard to tell with a novelization if you've seen the movie, because you know you've seen the movie and the story goes pretty well. Like the others, I'll talk about the dedication, if they have one. Jerry Pournelle did dedicate this book to people who I can only assume are his mentors, because according to his biography, he became a full-time professional science fiction writer in 1971. This movie, which is the same year this novelization would have been published. Maybe I have that wrong. I thought it was a couple of years, but he's very early in his career. P. Schuler Miller and Elspeth de Camp are both, of course, science fiction writers and science fiction fellows. I bet they might have been mentors to Jerry Pournelle. That might have been how he knew them. B. Schuler Miller kind of, he's more known for his criticism. He kind of gave up on writing science fiction fairly early in his career and was mostly known as a critic after that. I don't think I've read anything by him either. Elspeth de Camp is famous or infamous for his involvement with the Conan properties of Robert Howard. But he wrote a few books that I on his own that I like. They also, both these guys, I do only remember they might have been literary agents for different science fiction writers one time or another. So maybe that's the process. Anyway, Escape from the Planet of the Apes is a direct sequel to Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Like I think I mentioned in that video, sequels were a little more, they weren't as well thought out, or they weren't as, I don't know what you'd say, fan servicey or whatever, as they are these days when everybody can go back and check stuff. This doesn't link up with, this takes place after the bombing at the end of Escape from Planet of the Apes, which destroys the world. Unbeknownst to us viewers, apparently Cornelius and Zira, Cornelius the archaeologist and Zira the animal zoologist, I guess, or she mostly experiments on animals, meaning people, are in a spacecraft. We involved in restoring Taylor's spacecraft from the first movie, along with their physicist, engineer type fellow chimpanzee scientist called Milo, played in the film by Sal Mineo. There's a big plot hole that I noticed only because I've seen this movie several times and now I've read the book too. It's just like there's really no reason for Zira and Cornelius at this time to be leaving the Earth, and God knows where they're going, because they don't know about the time dilation thing. Apparently, they get pushed back in time. They show up just a few months or a year or whatever after Taylor had disappeared. So they show up in the near future. They show up around 1975 or something like that, just a few years after the book came out. People are shocked to see Taylor's ship back. They're even more shocked to see chimpanzees in them. They go through a period of Americans trying to study them and trying to learn from them. It's a good movie, and it's I think. Well, this is really the only second one, isn't it? But this is a really well written novelization. Like I said, I had never read Jerry Pournelle before, and I just know about his sort of outspoken fandom kind of talk about stuff, and his collaborations with Larry Niven, which are quite popular, I think. But he approaches this novel more seriously than the screenwriter. He tries to fill in a lot of plot holes. He tries to explain things to make that more sense. He adds dialogue to kind of build out the ape world that we've left, and kind of things make more sense, because the script, the movie, can be a little frustrating in trying to make sense of stuff. The apes make some dumb decisions. I never really understood why they went through this time portal. Jerry Pournelle adds to the theory of. I'm going to turn this off while the horn's going. Oh no, I guess they're done. So really, you just kind of take it on faith in the movie that somehow they fell back through a time portal or something. But the way Pournelle approaches it, as they're leaving, as Zira and Cornelius and Milo are leaving their Earth in 2,000 years in our future, and just coincidentally, fortuitously for them, but not for anybody else, Taylor explodes the doomsday weapon on Earth, and that the force of that blast, and they see the rim of the Earth melt away. That's the way it's described several times in the script. They see the Earth completely destroyed, and it's that explosion, that force that pushes Taylor's craft back in time, back to where it came from. There's a lot of comic bits that are well handled in this movie. They're kind of separated. Let me put up some pictures here. Here's the original poster of the movie, which is a huge spoiler. Meet baby Milo, who has Washington terrified. So Milo, the scientist who comes with them, is killed very early in the process, and in a kind of inconsequential way, which was strange. I did not remember the movie that way. I remember there being 3 astronauts. I had no recollection who the third was. 3 aponauts, as they call them. Of course, our main characters are Cornelius and Zira from the other 2 films. Milo's with them for a little bit to kind of explain anomalies and tries to get them not to speak, even though they display all their other attributes of intelligence. He thinks that if they speak to the humans will freak out. So this gets them sent to a zoo for study. Like a research zoo of some kind. They meet a couple friendly doctors, a male and female friendly doctors, who are studying them and trying to learn about them. But the only thing and Milo's advice is that they try and limit how much they tell the humans, because for one thing, humans in their world are very violent. In our world too, but what they know about humans, these chimpanzees, is that they're very violent because of the wars and things that they know. Cornelius, as an archaeologist, knows quite a bit about their past, more than he would have let on in the other movies, especially the first movie. Zira had done animal experiments, autopsies, and even vivisections on humans, so that's not really going to make them very popular, they're afraid, even though in their time they thought of humans the way we think of apes. And they just don't think people are going to really like the future. So Milo gets killed for a random reason because they stupidly put the chimpanzees in a cage next to a despondent gorilla who's a man in a pretty terrible gorilla suit. I don't know how they the people that are supposed to be representing gorillas in this time frame, they didn't even bother with the real Planet of the Apes music, Planet of the Apes makeup. They just put them in the same kind of dumb animal gorilla suits you would see in like a Abbott and Costello movie. Anyway, so this gorilla reaches in, kills Milo for no reason, because the cages are juxtapositioned. It's just a way to get rid of Milo. I thought, thinking back on the plot, and I think this would have been better, that Milo was somehow killed by being experimented on or something they could hold the humans accountable for. But it's a very weird tonal shift when in one scene you have Milo strangled to death by a gorilla. Zira and Cornelius talking about that, because by this time they've revealed that they could speak to the friendly zoologist, and they said, "You killed Milo," and the zoologist goes, I didn't kill him, the gorilla killed him." And then they're like, "You're right. Anyway, we kind of liked you. I always liked you from the beginning." So he's the friendly scientist, so they accept right away that there's, really no animosity on Cornelius and Zira's behavior about how they've been treated, because they realized that they probably would have done the same thing, and they basically did do the same thing to Taylor, and two of Taylor's compatriots were killed, one by getting a lobotomy, the other by just being shot and then stuffed and put in a museum. So they're very sanguine about the whole thing. Then there's a montage sequence where they're trying to integrate them into society, and kind of by way of apology is treating them as animals. They take them and they put them in, and they give them a big suite downtown, and they dress them up, and Zira starts giving talks at like ladies, like a feminist group or something, and for the rights of women. It's all very strange. It's the comic part of the movie before things turn very ugly, because it turns out that Zira is pregnant, which, as we saw in the poster, a big spoiler, this is like the last half hour of the movie where the baby comes into it. There is a guy in this movie. See if did I? Yeah, this guy's the villain. If you can see with Cornelius there. This guy's name is. Did I keep all that? It's played by Eric Braeden. The character, which was a character actor I recognized, because he also played Dr. Corbin in the Corbin Project, which is about intelligent computer, like a 60s movie. He is also in, what's the other big movie he was in? Big kind of sci-fi movie. I had it someplace. Anyway, in this movie he plays a character called Otto Haslin, and he is the kind of character, whenever you see those memes online about 10 movie villains who are actually the hero, he's kind of the hero. I mean, from one point of view, from a very cold-hearted point of view, he is the hero. He is very concerned about the future, even though it's 2,000 years in the future, and he knows that the apes are lying. The apes are not giving the full story about their history, and it is because they're afraid that if the humans find out everything they know about what's going to happen to the world and how they're going to lose control of the planet to the apes and then have a nuclear war and all this, they're going to be very upset. It's going to be very dangerous for them. So Haslin does do bad things. He gets Zira drunk. He finds out she's susceptible to alcohol. Gets her drunk, even though she's pregnant. They don't mention the pregnancy during. alcohol. Maybe that wasn't a thing yet in 1970. That it's just like a no-no to give alcohol to a pregnant person, but it's not mentioned. And they also give her sodium pentothal and get her to tell the truth. Cornelius tells them even more. He says, in the future, cats and dogs are going to get a virus. It's going to kill them all off. Humans are going to start domesticating monkeys. Then they're going to realize they can actually use the monkeys as labor, free labor. Then the monkeys are going to rebel. And he gives this on like a 500-year timeline, which will be compressed in the next movie, just to look ahead a bit. But it's determined by the commission set up by the president that they're going to sterilize. The way they describe it in the movie is they're going to terminate the pregnancy early, and then they are going to sterilize both Zira and Cornelius. In the book, and this is so good about, and they find out about this, and then they try and escape, and that's the escape on the Planet of the Apes. Cornelius goes into all this ape and human and psychology and everything more. He has the character suggest that, well, you don't have to end the pregnancy. You could have the baby be born and sterilize the baby along with the parents. Very obvious solution that the screenwriter didn't think of, but which the good guys suggest in the novel. He pushes back on the presentation we're given, or Jerry Pournelle gives the other characters more ammunition to push back against the illusion the apes have of themselves, or that they prevent of themselves, which gives the argument more, makes the argument a little more even-handed about what to do with the apes, instead of in the movie where where Hazel, or where that scientist that I just mentioned, Haslin, is not looking at all the solutions. He just really wants these apes destroyed. Basically, he fears them. He fears the future. He's given more of a backstory to make him more human in the book, in terms of his family and his wife, who he cares about very much, and his special needs children, and his concerns about the future for humanity, and different things, not just having crazy apes take over, but concerns about nuclear war and environmental. So it gives him a more of a realistic basis for his fears. Pournelle also points out that, and has Haslin query the apes about some of the contradictions of what they've said. And they're like, we're chimpanzees, we're peaceful. The gorillas are bad. The gorillas are warlike, but we're peaceful. And talks about their credo of ape shall not kill ape, and the gorillas are in the military. He's like, well, why do you have a military if you don't kill other apes? And they go, well, sometimes we have fights with other settlements, and so okay, so you are warlike, and they say other settlements because they don't want to tell the humans that they had the fight with the underground mutants, which I'm not even sure if Zira and Cornelius would know about, but those are humanoid mutants, and so there's a little more realistic introduction of actual simian biology, which I thought was all very interesting, and Pournelle writes it like a scientist. He comes up for solutions for some of the things in the book that are in the movie that are hand wave, like the time travel, and like I said, and the repair of the ship, and the analysis of the future ape society, which he kind of touches on a couple other things, like what I mentioned about there being other settlements, because it is, what we've seen in the Planet of the Apes is really just, the 5 boroughs of Manhattan, basically. We've seen, the Statue of Liberty. We've seen Queensboro Plaza. That's about it. Subways. And so, there's a whole planet out there. Is it all populated by sentient apes in different, small settlements, or what? They don't seem to have any other than citywide organization. They don't seem to have any other organization, and that kind of plays into, put a pin in that, because that kind of plays into some of the things that happen in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. So maybe just the choice that Paul Dehn made when he wrote these scripts. So I'm kind of rambling, but I really did enjoy reading the book. It's not just that it is a repeat of the scenes, although it's got a different climax, a longer climax, which, again, like these things always do, oftentimes they're taken from an early script, so they may have cut some of this stuff, some of this chase and escape stuff at the end. It's a very simple way, kind of unrealistic way that the police happen to find where the apes have gone at the end. They go to this dockyard, this abandoned ship. They find it because Zira drops one of her bags because it's too hard to carry, and But in the book, it's a longer sequence where they meet some humans, and they try and get the humans to cover for them, and then the humans actually end up getting scared and turn them in, and it's quite a tragic end with a twist that I've always had problems with, frankly. And nothing from this view dissuaded me of it. I guess you could say a mother is justified in doing whatever she could to save her baby. So there's a scene, they're hiding out in a circus run by Ricardo Montalban, later of Fantasy Island, and earlier and later of Khan Noonien Singh from Star Trek, of course. They hide out in the circus. There's a chimpanzee in the circus who has a baby. Zira trades her baby with that gorilla, that chimpanzee's baby. And then, so it's that chimpanzee's baby that is shot at the end, shot and killed, and they assume that there's no speaking ape alive, and that's the end of it. They kill all the apes from the other movies. Yet another bleak, tragic ending to this movie without a ray of hope. Well, I guess there is one ray of hope, because the last scene, he goes back to the circus, and you hear little Milo say, "Mama, Mama, Mama." And so we know that he has survived, and that apparently the circle is going to continue. That, like in most time travel movies, everything, nothing changes. Even as hard as you try and change the future, nothing really changes. Well, that's one way to look at it. So, I don't know. I kind of told more of the plot than I wanted to on this, but hopefully nobody's watching these if they're interested in plots, in spoilers of these very old movies. I thought he did an excellent job, and enough that I'm going to check. I'd be interested in checking out some of Pournelle's other books. So I enjoyed it. That finishes the first volume of the Planet of the Apes omnibus. The next one is... I lost my screen here. I hope I'm still recording. Yeah. The next one will be Battle for the Planet... Oh, yeah, there I am. Okay, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, which is different again. So each one of these movies, and this is a contrast to Ghostbusters 2, it's a contrast to what they do today. Each of these movies is very different in focus and in ideas and plot. They keep the same kind of themes about man's inhumanity to man, the cruelty of... I think at this point you have to stretch it out and say the cruelty not of humanity but of primates, the warlike nature of primates. Oh, that is a pretty cool part in this book where Haslam, the doctor, confronts Cornelius. He's like, shows him pictures of, for example, modern chimpanzees hunting and killing baboon babies for food and eating their brains and stuff like that. So that's not in the movie, but it does sort of bolster the idea that humans and chimpanzees, especially compared to other apes, are much more violent and more alike than not, which is something the chimpanzees never confront about themselves in these movies, because they think of themselves as the intellectual class of the apes. And even in fact in the second movie, the chimpanzees are doing an anti-war protest, trying to stop the gorillas from going to the mutant city. But maybe we're not so different after all, and maybe that would come up as a theme in the next movie. So we'll have to see. I'm definitely committed to doing the next two movies, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes and Battle for the Planet of the Apes, which are in the next omnibus book 2. And then after that we'll see there's other books in these, there's other novels in these omnibuses. I think I mentioned before, but I'll mention again. There's the second book has Conquest and Battle for, and also has the novelization of the 2001 Tim Burton remake, which I'm probably will end up reading. I'm not going to watch the movie again. Then there's the third one, which has 4 novels by George Alec Effinger, another well-known science fiction writer, novelizations of the Planet of the Apes TV series. And I think each of those have novelized 2 different scripts. There's probably about 13 or 16 scripts overall, because it ran one season. Or I guess that could be up to like 24, but I don't think they did a full season. Then the last of the omnibi is number 4, which contains 3 novels, which I'll have to do more research in, but 3 novels that are not based on any series or anything, but they're about 3 astronauts, 2 men and a woman. So the first woman astronaut to survive a crash landing on the Planet of the Apes and their adventures. So I'm looking for those because those are original novels. Then there are 2 other books that are, all these I think were published around the time when they started redoing the current series of Planet of the Apes. There are 2 other series that are anthology series that are short story collections set in the world of Planet of the Apes in some form or another. So I've got plenty of Planet of the Apes for you if you're interested in that, and I do love it, and I'm still excited about it and looking forward to it, and we'll talk about them when we do.